and welcome to Flawless, a music podcast. My name is George, and I'm here with my co-hosts Grant.
Hello there, everyone.
And Liam.
Hello, everybody out there in Flawless World.
Yes.
Flawless World. There is a whole world of us.
There is.
Each episode of Flawless, a host or a guest nominates an album that they think is flawless, and we discuss how they discovered it, what they love about it, and what makes it flawless for them. We have a Facebook group. It's called Flawless Friends and Family, and it's where we discuss all things of music that we love and that you love, and we post in there about upcoming episodes and what albums are nominated. You can find the link in our show notes, and please do comment on the albums that we nominate so we can read them out on the podcast.
Which we did recently.
Yes.
Which we have indeed done. So, and of course, we have a Patreon, for we are a podcast. You can back us from as little as $1 a month, and you get early access to our episodes, access to our bonus episodes, of which we have plenty, and that warm, fuzzy feeling inside that you're helping us spread the flawless love. And you can find us at patreon.com/flawlessamp. Now, I might be reading the intro today, but
Not reading. It just comes off the cuff, George.
I thought you were ad-libbing.
Yeah, it's
I was
natural.
like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
they have
Been done
never
100
had
times, and you know exactly what you're saying.
It's over 110 now.
Well, there we go, plus GST, 100 plus GST, VAT, or
You're
whatever
such an accountant.
by trade, yes, quite incredibly.
Oh, God.
Very dangerous.
Well, I'm not nominating today because I have two people in this room who are guests.
From
Would
a
you
band.
From a band.
Yes.
In the Brisbane music scene. So they're hip and happening, and they are going to introduce themselves. So please introduce yourself.
Hello, Team Music.
Yes, there it is.
I'm Remy. I play bass in We Set Sail.
Nice.
Good man.
Hi, I'm Ben, and I also am in We Set Sail. I play drums.
What is We Set Sail?
We're a alt rock sort of emo indie punk band from Brisbane that's been around
For too long.
too long. Too long.
What is too long?
Oh,
When does it get to too long?
Oh, when they changed
Over
the
a
next bass
decade.
player, I guess. I'm the third in line, so
Really? Okay.
Oh, wow.
So who's the longest standing member out of you two?
definitely Ben.
Me.
Definitely Ben.
Ah.
No one ever loses a drummer.
Yeah.
They're like gold dust. Every drummer I know is in 3 bands.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, there we go. And here's case in point. Okay.
So if
We
you
Set
want to
Sail.
hear about We Set Sail,
Yeah.
where do we go?
The internet.
Oh, I've heard of this.
The World Wide Web.
You can. Our web address is google.com. Just type in We Set Sail, and yeah.
And away you go.
And
Follow
you'll-
your nose.
And you'll follow some yachting club
Yeah.
in like San Francisco.
Yeah,
Oh,
don't
that's
follow that.
The
that-
Commodore
Not the
of-
yacht rock.
you
Those
know,
rich bastards.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we want to look for the very poor musicians that live in Brisbane.
That's right.
Called We Set Sail.
Yeah. Or you could try looking for our last record, which was called Ritual and Ceremony. That's a lot harder to mess up,
Okay.
I suppose.
Nice.
Anything on Bandcamp
Is it
or
and
the
or-
label False Peak. So,
Did you use
yeah.
the word and or did you use an ampersand?
There wasn't a. Yeah.
And
It was a real and
Spelled
because we
right.
have an
Real and.
English teacher in the room, don't we?
Mate,
I'm a big
wow.
fan of the ampersand, but
I'm a solid ampersand user on
So
Twitter.
you know after you are, Remy?
I am,
You
yeah.
are. Oh, good. Okay.
in the right setting.
Sure.
It's
at
Remy
us go.
here from We Set Sail. It's his turn to nominate an album. So, which album have you nominated?
I am nominating the second release by Pedro the Lion called Winners Never Quit.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All the way to Grandma's house, I stayed on the narrow path, but my brother wandered off deep into the woods, bitten twice by rattlesnakes, tangled up
late
Nice.
90s on Jade Tree.
Nice.
Yeah.
Getting some
It was
wordplay in there
2000
right in
did,
the title.
but
2000, yeah.
On the
Yeah,
head.
Still
March
on the
28,
head.
2000. Yep, on Jade Tree
2011.
Records.
So did you know that Jade Tree is in my top 3 favorite record labels of all time?
Nice.
It's a solid roster.
Oh,
Who else is
it's
on there?
Strike Anywhere, who are
yeah.
like one of my favorite punk bands ever. Texas is the Reason, Trial by Fire,
Ooh.
New Mexican Disaster Squad, Kid Dynamite, Jets vs Brazil, Alkaline Trio, Veil, and Fucked Up.
That's a pretty good roster.
Yeah.
That's,
To be fair.
that's like my record collection upstairs right now.
Absolutely.
So I got really excited. I was just like, there we go, we've got a Jade Tree in the house.
Could you? Sorry, you go.
I was going to say, tell us how you discovered Winners Never Quit.
Yeah, okay. I was 19 and I left to go and live in Japan.
Wow.
And why Japan, may I ask? Let's go.
I've been studying Japanese and
Sure.
I was into snowboarding at the time, so I
Brisbane guy, Japan.
yeah,
Done.
it was my first kind of solo long time away, and like I landed in Tokyo and went straight to like Tower Records and spent like 3 hours in there with like multiple floors. I'd never been into a record like the record store, anything like it.
Yeah.
And so spent so much time just trying to get some music that I hadn't already prepared on mini disc or something for the travel.
Yeah.
And on the on the listening station there was the Pedro album, and then I also picked up, it was like Swiss Army Romance by Dashboard Confessional, and I picked up
What a
that
classic.
like Maybe I'll Catch Fire by Alkaline Trio, and
Oh, wow.
and these three kind of set a bit of my scene when I sort of arrived at the Snow, and so listening to Winners Never Quit, walking through snow with the lanterns along different small houses of this small town where I was was just memorable, and
Yeah.
I always think of
Sure.
it every time I listen to it. So.
Nice.
That's
So,
awesome.
so it was the second album. Did you know the first album and you saw the second one and went, yeah, I want to get that? Or you were
I
just
did.
like-
I did know the first album. I had heard the whole EP off Tooth and Nail, firstly, and I didn't own the debut album, but I saw this one and like the minimalism of the cover, and I listened to it a few times through at the listening
And that was
station
that.
there, and that was it.
At the listening station. Hey? I mean, that's just old school.
know.
Can you maybe just tell the young folks who may listen what a listening station was? Because I understand what you mean, but there might be
It's like
people.
Spotify, but with only 6 albums on it.
Oh, yeah. And you
Like a car CD changer, but you're in a building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you use the headphones that someone else has just used, and they could be warm.
That's true. Yeah, like listening to Spotify with someone else's headphones.
Yeah.
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 I
Somebody
definitely
else's.
remember being that kid at like HMV, sheepishly walking up to the desk with this album, be like, "Can I please listen to
Yeah.
this?"
Oh, always.
And with the benefit of time, they don't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah.
they don't care. Yeah, whatever, kid. Listen
Yeah,
to whatever.
yeah.
I don't care. But now they're like, oh, please don't hurt me. Like,
Can I just
Call
point
me
out
out.
that I literally did that with Swiss Army Romance.
Yeah.
I had it on pre-order,
Oh, yeah.
like the American release, because I was so excited about it. So there you go.
nice.
That's nerding out and bringing it all together.
Cool.
Forgive
Okay.
me. Can we go back in terms of nerding it out? Because it was amazing, and I felt out of, again, not for the first time for you guys, have I felt out of my depth when you said the guys that released this are in your top 3 music producers,
Yeah.
Record labels.
record labels. Forgive me, even the words.
Yeah.
Like, you've got record label favorites.
Yeah.
And that's just
Absolutely.
amazing.
I follow
Like,
record labels.
yeah.
I follow because the record label like
It's
Saddle.
this
If
is
you
when I
follow
feel
Saddle
I'm fucking
Creek,
wasting my
you're
time.
gonna go
man.
right.
Like,
Saddle Creek,
Oh my-
Polyvinyl.
Polyvinyl, Saddle
Farsuk.
Creek. Yeah, and then back in the UK, Specialist Subject, because they put out my
so
record.
impressive. And it's like that's
But
admirable.
isn't it interesting though? Like you were talking about Electra before, which was like, oh, damn it, I did that thing.
That's,
okay.
we talked about Electra. We talked about Electra before. It's okay.
We have talked about Electra at some point, which had every band from everywhere.
Yeah.
You didn't know what you get.
Yeah.
and yet you might have like a band like Roadrunner, where it's like you know exactly what you're getting on Roadrunner records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you. I've learnt a lot today.
So, Grant,
Yes.
then had you heard
There
Pedro
we
the
go.
Lion
On the same
or Winners Never Quit?
journey. No, never heard of Pedro the Lion. Totally new to me. I wouldn't, most of, if not all those names you listed earlier.
It was actually a test.
And I failed. I'm like, oh man, do I
They're
have
not
to keep
even
going?
real bands.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
just
all
made
made
You
up.
just made up names. You just put, looked in a dictionary and just chose
Dude,
words.
we literally covered Strike Anywhere in a
I
podcast.
do. Yes, I know that one.
And you
Sure.
didn't enjoy that one.
Well, exactly. I mean, I can believe it, maybe,
But
but
Pedro
yes,
the Lion's quite different.
it is very different. No, for sure, a very
Okay.
different listen. But never heard before. Yeah.
But Liam,
Hello.
I'm expecting you have heard Pedro the Lion.
I had heard of Pedro the Lion. I'd heard the name before, but I'd never heard any songs by them.
You and I spoke. I thought I'd heard the name, but certainly
Yeah.
never heard any musical.
Yeah, I'd heard, and
Track.
like you watch enough US festivals, and their name shows up like 2/3 of the way down the chart all the time. But I couldn't have named a song or what they even sounded like. Although once I started listening to it, I was like, okay, I've got the vibe here. This is going to be pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So you're going to ask me?
George, had you heard of Pedro the Lion before?
Yes, I had heard of Pedro the Lion before.
Nice.
I had thoroughly heard Pedro the Lion because in 2002 I saw Pedro the Lion,
Oh, I was
or
gonna-
David Bazan solo, in Nation of Shopkeepers, which is like a small venue in Leeds in Yorkshire, and it was one of the first gigs I went to after I moved there when I was 17. And then I saw again in 2010 at the Brudenell Social Club, which happens to be the last venue I played in the UK in my last band at the Punk Rock Music Festival. So it's dear and close to my heart.
There you
So,
go.
Nice.
yes.
Cool.
And I had heard this album, but I had mainly heard Control, which is the second album, the third album.
Third album.
Yeah,
Well,
third album.
yeah.
Ah,
Cool.
there you go.
So
Ben?
there we go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ben.
right, yeah.
Come on, bud.
No,
Exposure to-
yes, I knew who Pedro the Lion is.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
Dave Bazan.
sure.
But to be honest, I really hadn't listened to it much. It was a band that a lot of people I knew listened to, but I guess for whatever reason, I just had never really sort of confronted it head on. But very interesting.
Nice.
Keen to talk about this one.
This is an album that needs to be confronted head on.
It is.
Yes.
There is a lot going on for eight songs and like
34 minutes.
Yes.
34
Yeah.
minutes.
There
8
is
songs.
a lot going on this
So,
album.
Sure is. So, what happened to you on your first listen to this album?
So my
Liam?
first time I was just listening to it. I didn't look up any of the background or anything like that.
Sure.
So I was just listening to it in the car and on the way to work. And I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool collection of songs. And it wasn't until I actually did the deep dive and found out about the concept album and the whole thing behind it that it really it doesn't. I think musically, like listening to it just without knowing it doesn't necessarily lend itself to it being a concept album. Like it's
Not musically,
not
not
super
in that
obviously.
kind of sense.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not a whole feature of motifs that
No.
you'd find with that kind of thing. But I mean, in terms of lyricism, like it really is one of a concept album that really struck with me. Absolutely.
So it had to be pointed out to me that it was once I read it, I was like, oh yeah.
And what-
That makes sense.
What is the
And
concept?
then listening to it.
Liam?
So the concept is it's told from the point of view of a person who's a man of God and a politician, and all the way through his life, he is like, well, I'm a man of God, and therefore that makes me great and makes me better than other people, including his brother, who is a bit of a ne'er-do-well, lower class person that he doesn't really associate with. And then he has a bit of a fall from grace, which we'll talk about in the individual songs. But all the way through it, he still thinks, no, I'm a man of God. The fall from grace doesn't matter. God will protect me. God, I know I'm doing the right thing because God is with me. So even at the moments where he should be at his worst, he's still like, no, I'm still a good person. God is with me. God wants me to be doing these things that I want to do. And he ends up in jail. And yeah. Good enough. Is that an accurate enough summary, Remy? Is that, that's-
definitely. Without giving the punchlines
Yeah,
away,
yeah.
like that's totally it. Yeah,
And
definitely.
Grant, your first impression on listening?
This is not a happy album. Like it's not in there. So yes, it's quite the big themes, I suppose, if you go about it, and some incredible lyrics that
Yeah.
he's just saying.
There are some layers, aren't there?
Absolutely.
Flip.
Yeah.
through.
Within my top 5 lyricists of all time,
Nice.
like
Yeah.
Really.
without a doubt.
But you said a word that I haven't heard of. I've only recently heard, ne'er-do-well.
Yes.
Have you not heard that before?
No, I hadn't. And it's the third time. This is the universe
Well,
teaching me about a
it's never do
ne'er-do-well.
well, but the
Yeah.
V's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I
There you
hadn't, yes, okay.
Seeing
Yeah.
your sign.
I
of
might have
lip-
been all alone, you know.
You need to be reading more Dickens.
Yeah.
Well, something. Certainly reading something more.
More
I
English-
thought I was
more
reading a
English
lot
lit.
before, but now I'm like,
So Ben, did you have to listen to this for the first time?
in
Yeah, pretty
eager
much.
preparation for this.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I listened to it a lot. I would have heard bits and pieces of this over the years for sure,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
the first time I really confronted it and digested it, shall we say?
Yeah.
No, confronting was a good word.
Yeah.
But I have to say, like, the difference between going into it blind and listening to it a couple of times and then reading about it, and then once you know the context and the story, it really does open up so many more dimensions to what you're hearing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But I want to hear.
Yeah.
I
Well,
want to hear
so-
Remy's
I
pitch.
wanna hear-
Remy, did you want to tell us who Pedro the Lion is at this stage?
Pedro the Lion is, I guess, well, even on this album, it was pretty much David Bazan, really. He played everything.
played all
everything,
instruments and produced
wrote
it
it all,
and
produced
produced it
it.
himself,
And
yeah.
I mean, hats off to anybody who can do that for a start.
Yeah,
you know,
it's solid
with that
too.
kind of vision to be able, and I know it's simplistic in terms of like minimal instrumentation,
Yeah.
but pulling all of that stuff together
Yeah.
really takes skill. So yeah, David Bazan, Seattle writer, had the moniker of Pedro for quite a while until he dropped out of religion a little bit and questioned himself and went to solo, but has recently brought back the band and released 2 albums in the last few years, back
nice.
under the name Pedro the Lion.
Yeah. So how do they stack up to this one, do you think?
Oh, good question.
Lyricism, yeah, it's always up there.
Yeah.
Always up there. He has an uncanny ability to present what most of us might think is mundane observations, but in a real simple but striking way. And I think that idea is sort of carried through all of his albums.
Yeah.
You know, this one particularly not so big as Control, like, you know, that's usually, you know, what people go to as, you know, the best Pedro album, and I agree there's certain elements of Control that just can't be beat, but in terms of like approaching it as a concept album that I hadn't really heard before, particularly from a lyrical point of view, then I had to choose this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because these other ones don't really have that all the way
through.
Yeah.
Do you know what's fun about the fact that it was just him doing all the instruments and doing all the production? Is the album starts with him saying 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's like, who are you saying that to?
He can't be wrong. Like,
Like,
that's a big benefit,
it's
you know.
literally just you.
Yeah.
You're alone in a studio and you're recording this, which I thought was just such a beautiful intro to an album. To do that.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
You talked about the religion side as well. So he's a religious person. He believes in God. He's a Christian. As far as I know, the interviews that I read at the time said that.
Sure, heavily at that time.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Still is. But he also, though, he hates, like, quote unquote Christian music, though. So this was the interviews that I read was like, Bazan believes Christian rock bands are wasting their time preaching from beneath a hot spotlight where the basic act of being created glorifies God. So
Wow.
that's where Christian rock falls apart. It turns the music and the message into crap. The message is degraded when it's made into slogans and low-level propaganda. They're attempting to reach a certain audience just like the advertisers do, and that ultimately degrades the art. So this is... I've met lots of people, religious people in my life, and some of them have been too overbearing, and some of them have just been like, that's just part of who they are, but they don't ever try and make that part of who they are to other people, and that's what I'm completely fine with that. And it sounds like he's that as well. Like it was part of who he is, but he never ever wanted to be like preachy or telling people what they should believe or any of that sort of stuff.
Oh,
which is
absolutely.
really cool.
I mean, there were flashes in it in his very early stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But once he stopped Pedro the Lion, there was a real shift in the content, just because he was questioning religion so much, and that's particularly evident in like his solo releases, Curse Your Branches, where he questions that, and you know, he's talking about falling from the tree and really distance himself from that. It's not that he probably wasn't any less a believer, but you know, he goes on these solo living room shows a lot. That's his main touring sort of venture, and so he finds himself in conversations with rooms full of people on in a comfortable environment, and these are the things that they would be discussing.
Nice.
Really? As a source of income, like he'd be sit down and have a chat with.
They'll do living room shows.
Yeah.
That was while he was doing solo stuff for those couple of albums and a whole host of 7-inches. He was on the road a lot. You know. Yeah.
Wow.
Just driving around.
Just driving around.
Yeah.
Like there's a really great doco on it.
Okay,
Alone at the mic. No, that's
Something like that.
No,
I can't remember.
Doesn't matter. That's very interesting. Okay.
That's
So,
cool.
so tell me, why do you think, you're 19, you've gone to Japan, you've walked in Tower Records, multiple stories,
Sure.
you're standing there, you listen to this, and then you're trudging through snow in like Village, and this is the album that's resonated with you. Like,
Yeah.
what?
The simplicity of it, like even from the first line of the lyric, not
Yes.
counting the 1, 2, 3, 4, but
Sure.
where
It
he
gets
says,
perfectly placed.
all the way to grandma's house,
Yeah.
and then the
Super
rest-
intriguing opening track.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think it's
Yeah,
my favorite.
I mean, it
Live
could be
one
as
too,
much.
for
It could be
sure.
as much as flash fiction as anything.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just that on its
Sure.
on its own.
It's so
you know?
pretty, and
It is.
then
Yeah.
but it slides into the minor, like, and it does it really nicely. It's like
Yeah.
just
I
that
was
little
like-
grip.
I don't know anything about chords, and I was like, who can I send this to? Like the whole
Yeah.
album. It's like, can you tell me is all of this is minor chords, like just always that down version of something that could be up, but it's always just the downside of it.
He plays that really well, particularly with the view of the other brother. Like
Yes.
the alcohol brother.
If you think of, like, if you're thinking about the concept, there were lyrics.
I won't ever lock my doors. I will trust my neighbors, confident that they deserve to be there in heaven
Well, that's
So that's
what
his
Liam
thing
was
is,
talking
yeah,
about
it's like
with
he's decided he
justification.
doesn't matter what's happened to my brother, I'm still going to heaven.
Yeah.
And when I get there, me and all the other people who deserve to be in heaven are going to live this lifestyle that we want to live.
Absolutely.
It's so laden with those sort of biblical metaphors and
Big themes.
like even the term grandma's house in that first line of that first song. Apparently, that's a reference to like a children's story that is some other fable. So it's like they're all
Subtleties.
every line has goes a few more layers
Layers.
deeper and it does so much heavy lifting with so few words.
yeah.
That's what I
and
thought was
simple
so good about
chords
it.
and
Yeah.
such
Yeah.
simple words, but just so complex.
Yeah, so it's this really weird lyrical space where it's not subtext. Like he's not hiding the meaning,
No.
but he uses words to create beautiful imagery. But you kind of have to know what the image is to fully appreciate the words that he's used. So it's not subtext as in I don't know what this is, but like I said, I didn't fully get what the album was doing until I was told this is what the story of the album is. I was like, oh, that song is about, like, it made it a lot clearer what the songs were about.
Yeah, sure.
But not because he'd hidden the meanings in subtext, just I wasn't picking up the connections between it. So it's this really fine line between completely surreal subtext style stuff versus just literally describing what he sees, and he finds a really good pattern.
Yeah, I mean, it's not inaccessible
No.
language-wise,
No.
but it's certainly not really vague to exclude listeners at all.
And you can tell because I think he grew up as like Pentecostal.
Yes.
He's got to be a pastor or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, that's
basically.
right. That's right.
So he's definitely a student of all of those teachings, and
yes.
so now he's just using that as his ammunition to paint these pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because it's the concept album, because it tells a story and a narrative from A to B, we kind of have to go. There's no much point jumping around in the songs because
Yeah.
we'll end up getting them out of order and it won't make any sense what we're
That's
talking
fine.
about. So we might just have to go through them one by one. So
Yeah.
after Slow and Steady wins the race, we've got Simple Economics,
Yeah.
which is because he's obviously started that first one where it's just him and the acoustic guitar, and would it be a whole album of this? No, he picks straight up into like that sort of folky indie pop sort of stuff
Yeah.
right from there as well.
The drums and the bass join us on that one. So this is where, like, I guess you can tell as a drummer, there's like snare and hi-hat stuff going on. So yeah, he nodded, so that was a good sign.
It kept me interested for sure.
Yeah. And then there's that big lift into...
Lyric Buddies.
Lyric Buddies.
That's exactly what I've got to. It's just so perfect that I like that idea of like it's not even, and once again, it's not in the concept of the song. It's not about boyfriends or girlfriends. It's about when someone or something is getting away from you, just throw money at it.
Yeah.
Like you can use money to build relationships. If you've got the money, you can do it.
Absolutely. And this kind of opens the scene of the whole parliamentary running.
Yeah, the politician stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and he sort of gets on so he's like, well, we're 10 points down. 2 weeks to go, and he just gets on the phone himself and just starts promising everything to everyone, like whatever they want to vote, whatever they need to vote. He's like, yeah, I'll give you that, I'll get you that, whatever, just vote for me. And
Simple
that's
economics, but
yeah, that's it. Like
That's
selling out, like he's supposed to be the man of God, but then it just turns into capitalism of like whatever you want, I will give you. It doesn't matter what kind of person you are. I just need your vote. That's all I need.
But the song, it sounds like a three-piece working really well together.
Yeah.
But it's just him
It's
playing
just
against
him.
himself.
Just him as the
like,
three-piece.
and but he doesn't skimp on the bass lines. He doesn't like replicate the guitar lines with the bass lines just like verbatim. He still plays it as an independent instrument. Which is awesome. Which is like a really nice thing to hear. Because I hate it when one thing, a bugbear, is when the vocals, the guitar, and the bass are all following the same melody.
Sure. Yeah.
That when it's all intermingled and each one is treated like an instrument. He's done it really well on this.
So have you seen? Will you ask if you guys have seen Pedro the Lion live?
I saw him a number of times while living in Canada.
Nice.
A few times in Vancouver,
Yes.
at Richards and Richards, and I saw him play solo when he came out here and played Black Bear Lodge. It was the Troubadour at the time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that was like 2007 or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
you
may
did
not
a solo tour.
You may not remember. Did he play any songs off this album? Because we did the Decemberists
Maybe.
as a concept album,
Oh yeah.
but there's only like 2 or 3 songs that you can play. Here's just a song, because all the rest of the songs need the story for the songs to work individually. So I wasn't sure whether there was anything off this album that worked on its own.
I wouldn't be able to pick any from that album on that solo tour, but definitely in the band mode when he was playing with the other guys in Canada. Then there was it was a heap of these tracks.
Sweet,
Yeah,
cool.
Simple,
that's great.
Yeah, Simple Economics and Mind of Our Own and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, so do you want to move on to Protect the Family?
Protect the Family Name. Yep.
So
Like
bass playing. I
it's
like that.
5.5 minutes of just like this low key dirge.
Yeah.
It was a struggle for me because presentation of a track for me is like such a huge thing, and the tempo of this song, like it makes me anxious.
Almost not there. Yeah.
It like thinking of trying to play that feels like the most awkward thing in the world to me.
It's ominous.
And so yeah, it is ominous, but it's so dreary. And I know it's a big diss, it sounds like, but like it's just it's just hard. But Yeah.
Look, there are no singles to this album,
No.
and that's the thing. So,
Yeah.
this one particularly, after sort of establishing the scene in the opening track that there are two brothers, like this really puts a focus on the other brother, and so
Yeah.
there's not a lot of space
Yeah.
between notes, and with the slow tempo and the really drawn out sort of singing style,
Yeah.
really sets the scene for
sure.
that kind of somber, theme that the
Yeah.
other brother is,
Yeah.
kind of captivating
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah.
And so,
So
that,
he-
that,
so
that's
he-
why
Taking up
that's
the
important
space.
to me, that one.
Yeah, so he's been arrested for being drunk and disorderly.
Yeah.
And he's like, please don't actually take me away for that because the last time it happened, my brother had to come down and get me out.
Yeah.
And he told me, I don't hate this. Something about the sinner and I don't hate the sinner, but I hate the sin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so he knows if he gets arrested, he'll cause harm for his brother and his political stuff, and he doesn't want to
Yeah.
do that again.
And then he pleads with him, so you can't arrest me. I swore I'd be careful not to further shame my family name. Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, that you feel sorry for him. Like he's
do.
obviously in a real tough position, and he's like he wants to be better. And I think he even says he's been sober for a while, but he's
Yeah.
he's been
It's over
caught
for
out.
a week, but yeah.
So it's just
Yeah.
Just made a mistake, man.
I'm feeling sorry for this character who's literally sung one song in it.
Exactly.
Album so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
I'm,
right.
I'm already connected to it, so it's
Yeah.
really cool.
Well, he's in the shadow, isn't he? So of course, everything he does is wrong.
Yeah, and then we come into a
What's
little
that, Mark?
triptych, little three trio of songs.
We've got an electric
turning
guitar
Yeah,
in layers, and it's kind of punchy and fun in A Mind of Our Own,
yes,
which is nice, with drums and bass in it as well for a whole minute for the intro.
mm-hmm.
But then they drop off for the first verse of vocals, but like the whole thing is like domestic violence and
Yeah, so it almost comes with a content warning at this point. It's like this is some serious stuff that happens in the next three songs.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. The next three songs.
It reminded me of Cursive a little bit, like in the way that it was like formed as a song. And like the lyrics, so we're talking about like lyricists, like Tim Kasher to me is like
Sure.
one of my favorite like poets.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's and it's stuff like he just writes all of this beautiful like imagery.
So the music is poppier, but he's still screaming stuff through a bathroom door at his wife. So it's still his like this almost demonic drawl now. Like the vocal delivery is just like things like this is not, things are about to go very bad.
That's right. I mean, he's on. This is kind of the maniacal side of the,
Yeah.
the political win, and like
Yeah.
you can tell that with like the anger in
Yeah.
contrast with the music of this one sets that up really nicely.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, there's after telling his wife just to kind of shut up and have your diamonds and things like
Yeah.
that. Now
Oh.
it because she's gonna sort of call the authorities and
it's
it starts
never
to,
clear what exactly she's going to do. She's going for
No.
the phone, and he's like, "You can't go to the phone."
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
never
yeah.
clear exactly what she's going to say.
Yeah.
But he really twists her and says, I took her wrongs, I took her lies, and I made them right. I made them right. Like, he was really controlling like her language, not just like her physical being, like by shouting through the door, but it's like controlling her words and language. Which,
Yeah.
like really difficult to listen to.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and
Grant's just like,
Saying
I'm
no
immersed in the misery right now.
Sure. It's no singles off this one,
yeah,
and it's saying so much with so few words.
yeah.
Which is
So that flows into "Never Leave a Job Half Done," which might be like the most chilling song title. Like once you know what the job is that he's talking about, it's like holy shit.
True.
That's just
But then there's the intention, because once you finish A Mind of Her Own, that's when the record stops. So you got to go and change it. So there's that evoking
okay.
time before putting
Right.
on to the next one,
So it's
where you
released
find out
on-
what track 5 is.
yeah, nice.
I like that. I like it when we talk about vinyl.
Very good.
Yeah.
Me too.
But this is a huge one where he talks about like God is right. I'm with God, therefore what I'm doing,
Justified.
even though I've literally just killed her, I'm in the right. So he says,
Crisis posed a question just beneath the skin. Virtue in my veins reply, quitters never She almost ruined everything.
Lyric
Powerful.
buddies.
nice, yeah.
Yeah,
shit.
I got the same.
Like-
The race metaphor is like probably the most recurring theme. It's running the race, fighting the good fight, winners
Yeah.
don't quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And quitters never win, like that
Yeah.
inverse thing as well.
I like that.
From both
that
brothers,
inverse.
actually.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that
for
idea.
sure. Yeah.
For different reasons.
But his voice keeps a monotone through most of this song. Like it's not like it. He's just killed his wife, and it's just like just dealing with this level-headed, like, no, it's fine. I did the right thing. It's the right thing. It should have happened.
But we know it's
God,
escalated
no.
because
Yeah.
we're
And
still
there's,
on
like-
the electric guitar.
Yeah.
Which is why we know it's an escalation.
Yes.
Because the acoustic is when we're quiet and subtle and things are like ramping up, but the electric is when shit's kicking off.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And there's even like there's ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-das. I'm not sure how I've written that down, but it's like almost poppy in the background of like it's almost starting to feel like manic from him. Of like his brain
Yeah.
is just like going to this weird place where everything's just fine, and it's like it's not okay.
Absolutely.
I like the I think it's a few songs earlier where you read the line where he's talking about being in heaven, and he's saying we won't have to lock our doors, and there's kind of a double metaphor in that he wants to get into heaven, but his understanding of his righteousness is so like surface level, he doesn't really get it. Where he's like talking about deserving to be in heaven, it's like, well, you either go or you don't, sort of thing. It's
Yeah.
like,
And then he says he'll never lock his doors, but
Yeah.
she's locked the door on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
true, I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, like the worst transgression for him is to
Yeah.
be locked out of a space that he believes he's entitled to.
Yeah.
Entitled, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Dude's a douche.
Yeah. And then that goes into Eyes on the Finish Line, which is like I said, the last of this little trio of songs
Yeah.
that are all about
The justification.
the interaction with the
yeah.
wife, and like it's like once again, Eyes on the Finish Line is like, so long as I'm focused on getting where I'm going to be, that's I'm going to win, and I'm going to be the good guy.
Remain the good guy.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's got a slower start with those tapping drums, and single notes are played on the guitar and bass before the vocals come in, and he's almost at a drawl with his singing.
Arrow down drawl. It's
Yeah.
like he's had like maybe that manic energy of doing the act, and now he's sort of just coming down off that adrenaline run.
Yeah. Well, I mean, acknowledging it is such a tragic night in the lyrics.
Yeah,
So
And-
he's aware of it.
and he sings. He sees himself as a martyr
As a martyr.
in this situation. Completely fucked up, and
Yeah.
he's just like,
Not just partially,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's completely.
No, completely fucked. Like, he's done everything wrong, but he's seeing himself as a martyr in this situation.
And you're going to be misunderstood.
But the martyr, isn't that a literal reference? Like he's basically going to commit suicide. I believe that the one brother
that
kills
or
himself
her?
because he can't
Yeah.
bear it or something like that, and that's why he sees himself as a martyr. I could be wrong.
Maybe.
Well, we know,
Yeah, I
that, we know that from the lyrics of the next track that the sun is gone.
Right.
So whether that's that
Okay.
meaning or
I thought
otherwise.
I thought in the next song, I thought he was in jail. I thought he'd been caught killing his wife. This was just my interpretation of it, but I thought that he'd been caught, and then his the parents. Singing about the parents' reputation has been ruined.
He's been
So now I'm the bad. In theory, I would be the bad son, and they're telling me I'm the bad son because I've ruined. But it's still all about that family name, not actually engagement or empathy for someone who's gone through something. It's all
they don't mourn the son. They mourn the tragedy.
Their reputation. Yeah.
The reputational damage.
That's because he starts singing.
Their big success is now their biggest failure. Their golden child has been dethroned. Their reputation is now in ruins. Their tower to heaven has come tumbling down.
And it's like, that's really impactful.
Yeah.
Like he's suddenly realised now that he is in jail or whatever, he has finally come to the
Something's
conclusion.
sunk in. Finally.
Finally,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Everyone's telling him that he's a piece of shit, and he's finally going, maybe.
But he still says, and all the while the good Lord smiled and looked the other way.
Yeah,
So
right.
I don't think he is. I don't think he is realizing. I think he's still like, no. Even if I'm doing something that God doesn't like, he's just going to look away, and I'll still be. We'll know.
Yeah.
I'll still be in his
I'm
good
still
graces.
righteous.
He's just
Like,
not
we
going to
got
look
this.
at it. Yeah.
It's okay.
So that's just Bazan and the acoustic guitar again on this one, but instead of the first song where he was plucking a lot, this is a lot of chords. It's high. It's like the higher speed.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
really
the syncopation
jarring.
of the rhythm is really good. It's really addictive.
Yeah.
Even jamming out on it at home with an acoustic, it's such a fun rhythm to play.
It's
Yeah.
really folksy, that kind of guitar, as it comes in.
Yeah.
And I got full strumming.
Yeah.
We're used to single string plucking and stuff like that, but now he's just gone full strum into it, and it feels like you're running into the epilogue, the way it's presented, which it's
we
a
are, yeah.
precursor
Yeah.
to the
So
title
the
of the
eponymous track. Winners
eponymous
never
track.
Very
quit.
good.
which has that organ notes just
Yeah.
All the way.
humming through. Yeah, humming through, really, the thinking church organ kind of thing, that one organ note just being singly pressed is just there.
Well, it matches all the gospel chords that he writes with,
Absolutely.
so they're all just old gospel songs. It's called progressions anyway. So
Yeah.
the organ really fits nicely, and that
Yeah.
that kind of that continuous note and sort of presents again at that that kind of down tempo of the other brother now.
Yeah, that drawl again of the song when the other brother
The
comes
drawl,
back into
I've got
again.
drawl, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's back on the electric, with really lo-fi drumming, and it's more of a self-reflective on being a failure again, but offering it as advice. That's how I interpreted it, the way he was doing it. So it's like he's saying to his brother,
Count it a blessing that you're such a failure. Your second chance might never have come.
Lyric buddies. I got that one too. But it's that's the ultimate in self-righteousness is you should consider yourself lucky that you're my brother because I've been such a disgrace now that you'll actually get a chance for now our parents will forgive you and other people will forgive you for being the lower brother. He's so wound up in his self-righteousness. It's you should be considering yourself lucky that I fucked up this badly and you're going to get a second chance out of it.
yeah, this guy has learnt nothing.
No. No.
The whole time he's learnt nothing. He's done all these awful things. Everybody's told him that he's a bad person and a disappointment, and he's still just defiant. So yeah, like as a concept, from start to finish, like you follow this journey, and you can like on a lower level, even if you look at a non-religious level, you can see the rifts that happen in families like this.
Yeah,
that
sure.
just
Yeah.
echo across the land.
Absolutely.
And time and generations.
And that's,
Absolutely.
It's and the impact that religion can have, or has on that, as part of those.
That's definitely the bit that
Breakings.
resonated with me. Yeah, for sure. It's like a modern fable almost.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, like a,
Sure.
Yeah,
I
it's
think-
true. I know. As the youngest, I've always felt like I've never been good enough compared to my older brothers and stuff like that. And then one of them fell from grace, and I was like, oh, finally,
That's your
is it
shot.
my time? Am I going to be
Not
recognized?
so bad, eh?
And then,
No, not so bad now.
and then it was just like, nah, I did something shit too.
Oh.
Never mind. Back on the bottom line.
Yeah. In your box.
But yeah, I was fascinated when I found out that he was a religious person himself too. And it's like, these are the religious people that he very clearly hates, the ones that tie that into everything and then don't really understand what it is to be that a religious person. So it's just like, I'm religious and I hate these people so much. I've written an entire album about just this one. And, you know, there's lots of different ways to be religious and be a bad person as well. Like, not just this one way as well. Like, there's stuff that the album never gets to as well, which is like, yeah, it must have been... I feel like he had like 3 or 4 different people that he could have written an entire album about that he hated.
Axes to
and
grind, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he just sort of bared down on this one. It was really cool.
It's very succinct in that assessment of Christian rock bands or Christian music bands. I think
Yeah.
that is very like wow, insightful for someone who's spent time thinking about that sort of stuff. Jeez.
Awesome. Okay, so anything we need to touch on, or are we ready for a final pitch?
I think we've covered it. Like, it's a great
Good.
album.
On
Beginning to
track to
end.
track. I think it's a
Yeah.
great album. Done.
A pitch.
Yeah, final pitch.
Look, Winners Never Quit is it's not a particularly long ride, but it's certainly deep, and simple music and simple words, but such powerful songs as a result. That's
Nice.
Yeah, that's my pitch.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right.
There you go. So for the record, the episode is longer than the album.
It is.
Yes.
I-
Can I give you the percentage?
No.
Well, probably
Stop being
could
an
give up
accountant.
there.
I'm not paying you.
No, don't pay me for accounting. I can tell you that. No
Okay.
ways.
So Liam,
Yes.
would you like to give your final notes
I
and your
would.
flawless?
Yes. It's an amazing album. It's like, I said I listened to it a couple of times. And then when I listened to it, when I found out about what the concept of the album was, it was almost like I wasted my time listening to it without knowing what that story is. Like,
Agreed.
there was no
Yeah.
point. Like, you
Agreed.
can't listen to these songs one by one and try and figure out, oh, this bit's doing this and this bit's doing that without knowing what the story of the album is. So yeah, like, it's really like his second. I know it's his second album as Pedro the Lion, but I'm assuming he'd done other stuff before this, because if he hadn't, this is like a second album. Is just amazing to go, I'm going to do all this myself. I'm going to do all the parts myself. I'm going to produce it myself. Really, really cool. Yeah, like I said, just eight songs, really cool length. It's one of those ones where I almost could have used more. Like the using 3 songs on the killing of the wife was almost like I almost could have done with like a little bit more about some of the other aspects of his life as well. It sort of got that, like 3 songs normally is like, oh yeah, that's okay, but 3 songs on this album is like nearly half the album that he's just been talking about that one thing which gets really dark. But I just love the idea of it so much, and I love the way it's all constructed. And like you said, the music is amazing and the lyricism is really great. But yeah, I thought it was flawless. I loved it. I thought it was really cool. And I would definitely recommend everybody to check it out.
There
Awesome.
you go. Well done.
There you go. So we should probably go to Ben, with you're a guest.
Sure. Not an album I would normally go to, and generally I probably wouldn't put this on. But like you said, Liam, now that I know the story, I'm curious enough to want to revisit it a couple of times, even if some of those songs are a bit of a hard slog. I generally don't like to intellectualize music that much, but in this case, yeah, I would probably have another listen just to see what else I can glean from it.
Yeah, sweet.
Awesome.
There you go.
Grant,
Yes.
So tell us, was it a struggle?
Yeah,
Or was
We,
it a
yeah,
struggle?
we know it was a
We
struggle.
know it was
Was
a struggle.
was
Yeah,
it
no.
too much of a
It
struggle
was,
for you, Grant?
and yeah, I think it was too much of a struggle for me, for sure. I'm probably along the lines of Ben. Is it worth, listening to again and learning? There are subtle. The lyrics are incredible, and certainly, the one with the lyric buddies, the second last song with, the good Lord smiled and looked the other way. I'm like, geez, but that's that's gonna probably sit with me for a long time, because there's a lot of food for thought in here, and his opening track is like, geez, this is intriguing, and this guy's, little brother's something, broken leg, or he's in the forest somewhere,
Bitten
and I'm
by
at Granny's
snakes.
house, and bitten by snakes, and I'm gonna eat some cake, cool, okay, right. So, but from where my sort of music genre, I wouldn't have picked this up. Had never heard of Pedro. So thank you for bringing it. But I would say for mine, just personal taste perspective, I suppose, just a bit of hard work for me. But glad to have listened to it, and certainly the lyrics you cannot fault.
So did you say not flawless? Even
Not flawless?
just
no.
because it was because it's not your. I did the national, dude. And
I did the national. I
There's
said
no,
the
there's
national as
no
well.
querying reasons.
Yeah,
he said no.
No, I said no. No, I said no. But I went for the nationals as well.
I know, but I hate the national.
George, final thoughts and a
I'm
thumbs
not
up or a
made her
thumbs
sad.
down.
I don't like making George sad.
Oh,
She's gonna.
You made me
listen to
sad.
this.
You did. So when it was nominated, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to listen to Pedro again, because I've not listened to Pedro in a while. And I was like, oh yeah, it's on J-Tree. Love J-Tree. That's exciting. So this is all going well. So, and then I'm like listening to the album, and I'm like, it's only half an hour long. Perfect. Like, it's going to be so easy to write my notes as well. Like, I'm like, it's going to take me an hour to write my notes. Like, I'm loving this already. Half an hour. And I popped it on, and I was just like, oh, would it be like I remember? And then I was just like, ooh, it's so much better than I remember. Now that I've got more context, and now that I've got more like musical knowledge than I did when it came out in 2000, like I've got this like breadth of depth that I didn't have before. And literally after the first listen, I went straight onto Discogs and I bought Winners Never Quit and Control on vinyl, and it should be arriving in the next week.
Yeah.
I literally, first listen,
Amazing.
I went through, I was just like, oh, I need to listen to this on a record. It's like, I need that experience of like placing this on my record player and then like turning it over and going through this journey. And I was curious to see where side A and B would be, and you've told me so. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I've written it. I've got it here. Mine never owns the last one. You turn there.
Yeah, turn there.
Turn there.
And so I'm really excited. Like, so don't tell my partner that I've spent another $400 on Discogs, because I kind of went on a rabbit hole, and I might have picked
That's
up a
impressive.
few more records whilst we're there. But yeah, so for me, it's absolutely flawless, and I really want to thank you for reminding me of Pedro the Lion again. So hats off to Remy. We didn't make it across the line for everyone. Grant.
But did Ben say that he was it was flawless, or he'd listen to it again?
Oh yeah, that was...
I didn't. Yeah, no, it's not a flawless record.
Oh, so it wasn't flawless. Okay, that's fine. But you're a guest, so I have to be nice to you.
Yeah, I don't think my vote counts.
It counts. No, definitely.
It all counts.
It all does. But it's harder to get 5 people across the line.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
So yeah, so we gave it a good hot try, and we didn't quite get there with Pedro the Lion. So I want to thank everyone for listening. We have social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are Flawless AMP on all of those, so you can join the conversation, share or like our posts, or give us a rating. Every little bit helps us find more music lovers like you. Team Music!
Team music.
No.
As mentioned, we also have a Patreon at patreon.com/flawlessamp. If you would like to back us, please check us out for early episodes and also bonus episodes. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you next time.